Thank you very much. How many of you are Danish? So how many don't speak Danish? Okay. Well, I will do it in English as I've been asked to, but I don't currently speak English these days, but I will do my best to make it also a good experience for you three guys. Before coming here, where I've actually been formed or raised, because I've been studying on the Copenhagen Business School back in the middle of the 90s, I asked if I could just, present my business case and my life without proposing any scientific conclusions or any analysis on how I succeeded and why I failed. That was okay, I was told. So you must make your own conclusions, and I will just try to explain to you what I've been going through and why this has become my life. First of all, it has never been, I'm in the food business, and I'm in various food businesses, and I'm not there for the fun of it or to earn money, but because I felt that as a calling when I was 20 years old, that I had to do something to the Danish food culture. I was brought up in the darkest period of the Danish food culture, namely in the 60s and the 70s, where women escaped from the kitchens and the men didn't go in there. And so it was the period of the easy solutions, potato flakes to make puree and big freezers in every private home, loaded with chopped meat and vegetables that had been boiled maybe 3-4 years before. So it was easy for the one who had to do the cooking. And also in our larder there were lots of margarine packed with trans fatty acids because it was cheaper that way. And then bulk portions of dried breadcrumbs. There's always been kind of a synergy in between the usage of breadcrumbs and the usage of margarine in Danish food culture. It's a very cheap way of feeding people. Just as with the frozen vegetables, my father told me, because I didn't want to eat these frozen vegetables that my mother had boiled for 1 hour. And my father told me, when I asked if I had to eat them, yes, because if you succeed in keeping them inside you, they will do you good, and if they come up again, they will have done no harm. So that was my father's philosophy of kind of enjoying the meal together with the rest of the family. This is a picture of the Danish food market. In contrast to Southern Europe, for instance, the Danish food market has always been characterized by a bulk situation, that is lack of diversity, lack of huge price differentials, lack of outstanding products with genuine stories of origin that capture people's hearts. Basically it has been characterized by almost monopolistic cultures in the different industries. And even though human beings are born with a deep wish to search for perfection in all aspects of life, you have never seen that in Danish food industry or in the agricultural landscape, where the visions have been quite different. And then you may ask, how come that during history there's been periods where the Chinese cuisine or the Indian cuisine or the Mexican cuisine or the French cuisine has had world hegemony, and never the Nordic cuisine, that I will return to in the end of my speech. And I think that the reason is, and that was kind of the fuel in my business life. That was the lousy starting point in my life. And the reason why it started there, I think, is that in our country, doctors and Puritan priests have for more than 300 years formed an evil partnership. In together, they have led an anti-hedonistic crusade against the pleasure-giving qualities of food and against sensuality as such. The idea in our culture, the idea of organizing beautiful meals with great food has always been considered a sin, in line with exaggerated dancing, theft, masturbation, and incest. So to my father and my mother and my grandparents, there has been communicated a philosophy saying that if you just ate something of inferior taste and did it in a hurry, instead of enjoying the sensuality of the meal too much, then you have a good chance of getting a long and healthy life and of coming into heaven. So this is what I was brought up with. And then what changed my life was 1 year in France, where I happened to spend 12 months with one of the greatest pastry chefs in Europe in that period, and his wife. My parents were divorced, and I didn't really see them from the age of 13 to the age of 18. My mother started drinking, and I had a lot of other good adults around me, but of course I kind of missed forbilleder? Role models in my life. Thank you very much. And then I came to the southern part of France. I came into that family where they couldn't have children. They always wanted to have a boy, and they couldn't get one themselves. And then they received me as their boy, and gave me more love in that 1 year than I had in the previous 18 years of my life. And then Guy was a great chef who worked with 100-year-old recipes in a beautiful laboratory with equipment from his grandparents' life, and he made tremendous cakes and food in general. And whereas Amelie, my childhood, took 15 minutes, then with Guy and Elizabeth it took 3 hours. And my parents, they wanted to economize in time and money when it came to serve food for the family or the friends. Then in France it was the opposite way. They invested in the meal. How great could they make it? And how much pleasure could they bring to the people invited to eat with them? So I came back to Denmark with a feeling. I came back still in the very dark period of our food culture. And I came back with the feeling that I wanted to be a banker when I went down there. I wanted to go into the banking business and sitting there and giving people loans. But when I came back, I felt that when I've seen this tremendous difference between this lousy Danish food culture and this beautitude of what was happening in southern France, it must mean something. And then at the age of 21, I just knew deeply inside me that I wanted to change Danish food culture, and I believed that I could do it. Maybe not tomorrow or in 5 days or in 8 months, but I could start on the project and see how far I could go with it. And then I didn't have the courage to just starting cooking, so I went into this place. But whereas my fellow students, they studied exporting of dairies to the Arab countries, I was studying the catering industry in Brøndshøj. And I was always looking in food, and my teachers hated me for not being able to discuss anything but sauces and pastry and how to start up a bakery and lousy small-scale businesses.